All right, let's dive into another deep dive. And you know what? We're talking hoops today, folks. NBA action.
Perfect timing, right? Everyone's going to be looking for some fresh takes around the water cooler tomorrow.
Exactly. And we've got a packed lineup to unpack. We're going to be looking at Lakers and Trailblazers and
Spurs and Suns?
oh, that's right, Spurs are taking on the Suns. And then we've got Nuggets versus Hornets.
Can't forget Bucks and Clippers.
That's going to be a good one. And then we'll wrap things up with
The Magic and the Hawks.
Magic and the Hawks. Yeah. Now, look, we all know those basic box scores exist, right? You can find the scores anywhere.
But that's just the surface.
Exactly. What we're after are those hidden stories, the stuff those numbers don't tell you.
The unexpected plays, the guys who stepped up when it mattered, and maybe, just maybe, a glimpse of what's to come this season.
I like that. A glimpse into the future. Okay, so first up, the Lakers. They snagged a win against the Trailblazers, 110 to 102. Looks pretty comfortable on paper, but
Those last few minutes, though, nail-biter.
totally. The Lakers really had to grind it out for that one. And it's interesting because this isn't the first time we've seen them kind of struggle early on this season, only to come back strong in the fourth. It makes you wonder, right?
Right. Are they just slow starters? Or is there something more strategic going on?
Maybe they're pacing themselves early on, wearing down their opponents before they unleash that final push.
Conserving energy, picking their moments. Could be a deliberate strategy, for sure, but their ability to flip the switch like that in the fourth definitely raises some questions about their approach.
And speaking of flipping switches, we got to talk about LeBron and Anthony Davis. Those guys really came alive in those last few minutes.
What can you say? Veterans know how to handle the pressure, deliver when it matters most.
And next up, we've got the Spurs, and they kind of steamrolled the Suns 120 to 109. Gotta admit, I was surprised by that one. I mean, the Suns have been struggling a bit, but the Spurs they've dominated.
Yeah, and for me, it wasn't any one player who stole the show. It was the team as a whole, just completely in sync. They held a strong lead for all four quarters.
It wasn't a fluke, they were just solid, start to finish. Guys like Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell, yeah, they had great games, but it was the team play that really won it for them. Makes you think, right? Have we been sleeping on the Spurs this season?
It's possible. That performance against the Suns, it suggests they have the potential to be a real contender, especially if they can keep up that teamwork and consistency when they face tougher opponents. We'll see.
Now, for a game that was pure offensive fireworks, the Nuggets taking down the Hornets 129 to 115. This Nuggets team, they came out firing on all cylinders. I mean, 38 points in the first quarter alone.
And it's not just about running and gunning, Their offense is built on precision, spacing, creating those high percentage shots. And with Jokic leading the charge, it's like having a maestro out there.
He's something else, isn't he? It's not just scoring. He's orchestrating the whole offense, making these pinpoint passes that leave defenders scrambling. And then you've got Murray, who can seemingly score from anywhere. Put those two together and
It's a recipe for an offensive explosion, and they complement each other so well. Jokic's playmaking sets up Murray for those scoring opportunities, and Murray's threat keeps the defense honest, which in turn creates space for Jokic to work his magic.
it's a beautiful thing to watch. All right, let's move on to a game that went right down to the wire. Bucks edged out the Clipper 116 to 110. This was a back and forth battle from the very beginning.
The Clippers started strong, definitely put the Bucks on their heels early on. But then, it's Giannis. He took charge in those final minutes, hitting clutch shots, making defensive stops, sealed the deal.
It's what he does, right? But it makes you wonder, can the Bucks really be contenders if they have to rely on Giannis to pull off those heroics every single time?
It's a fair question. As great as Giannis is, basketball is a team sport. If they want to go all the way, they're going to need other players to step up consistently.
All right, last game in this batch, a real comeback story. The Magic coming from behind to beat the Hawks, 114 to 108. The Hawks were in control early, but the Magic they refused to quit.
That second quarter, though, that's where they turned it around, came out with so much energy. They outscored the Hawks by 13 in that quarter. And that momentum shift, it was the difference maker.
I was really impressed with Banchero and Wagner. They're both young guys, but they played with so much toys against a veteran Hawks team.
Definitely players to watch. The Magic have been rebuilding for a while now, and it seems like it's starting to pay off.
All right, so there you have it, our first batch of games, some dominant wins, some nail-biters, and some truly impressive individual performances, but we're just getting started.
Stay tuned. We'll be back in a flash to dive even deeper. All right, welcome back to our NBA Deep Dive. You ready to dissect some more of these games?
Absolutely. There were some really interesting coaching decisions, player adjustments, things we didn't really have time to unpack in the first part.
Yeah, definitely worth another look. Let's start by going back to that Spurs win over the Suns. We talked about their teamwork, but I think we need to give some love to Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell.
For sure. Those guys were instrumental. And it wasn't just about scoring, it was their all around game. Diving for loose balls, that in your face defense, just hustling every possession.
They were the definition of glue guys. Doing all those little things that don't show up in the box score, but they win games.
Exactly. Those are the guys who make a team tick.
And they really embody that Spurs culture, right? Hard work, discipline, selfless play. It's what makes them so consistently good.
Yeah, they might not always have the biggest names, but they always seem to find a way to compete. Speaking of systems, let's talk about a team that's known for its offense, the Denver Nuggets. That win against the Hornets, pure offensive clinic.
They were just clicking. Precision passing, spacing, finding the best shot, and with Jokic running the show. It's a thing of beauty.
He's like a quarterback out there, always seems to be one step ahead. And then you've got Murray, who can just light it up from anywhere.
They're a nightmare to defend against. And the scary part, they're still young. Imagine how good they'll be in a few years.
Definitely a team to watch. You know, one thing that really struck me watching these games was the importance of coaching. I mean, we talk a lot about the players, but the coaches, they make such a huge difference.
Yeah, they're the architects behind it all. They come up with the strategies, make those in-game adjustments, and they build that winning culture.
Like, look at the Lakers' comeback against the Trailblazers. Their coach made some key substitutions, some tactical changes in that fourth quarter, and boom.
Yeah, he knew they were having trouble with Lillard, switched up the defensive assignments, started double-teaming him. It threw off the Blazers' whole offense.
Smart coaching. And then you've got Popovich, the legend himself with the Spurs. Teamwork, defense, that's been his mantra for years.
And it works. Look at how consistently the Spurs overachieve, even when they don't have a roster full of superstars.
Okay, let's get back to that Bucks and Clippers game. What a clash of the Titans that was.
Two of the best teams in the league going at it, and at the center of it all, Giannis. He's just a force of nature.
Yeah, in those last few minutes, he just took over. But like we were saying before, it does raise the question, can the Bucks really win it all if they're constantly having to rely on Giannis to be Superman?
It's a tough question. I mean, as good as Giannis is, you need the whole team to contribute if you want to win a championship.
All right, now the Clippers, they had their moments too. I was really impressed with their zone defense in the third quarter. I mean, going zone against a guy like Giannis seems risky, but it actually worked for a while.
It was a good adjustment. They realized they couldn't guard Giannis one-on-one, so they packed the paint, tried to force the Bucks to beat them from outside.
And it disrupted their rhythm for a while, made it a much closer game. Speaking of upsets, let's circle back to the Orlando Magic beating the Hawks. That was a statement, and I think a lot of the credit has to go to their coach.
Oh, absolutely. He had a game plan, and it worked perfectly. He knew the Hawks rely heavily on Trae Young, so they threw everything they had at him. Double teams, traps, you name it.
Smart. They took Young out of his game, forced the other guys to beat them.
Coaching, man, it can make all the difference. You come in prepared, exploit your opponent's weaknesses. That's how you win in this league.
So we've seen a lot in this part, haven't we? Teamwork, individual brilliance, coaching battles. The NBA is a wild ride.
And we're not done yet. We've still got a lot more to discuss. We'll be back in a bit to talk about what these games mean for the bigger picture.
And we're back for the final stretch of our NBA deep dive. It's amazing how much there is to unpack from just a few games, right?
It's those little things, the coaching moves, the matchups. That's where you really see what makes a team tick.
I'm still thinking about that Bucks and Clippers game. We talked about Giannis going off in the Clippers zone defense, but what about the Bucks adjustments? They seem to figure out that zone in the fourth quarter.
Their coach made a smart move, went with a smaller lineup, traded size for speed and versatility, really opened up the floor for Giannis to attack the basket and created space for their shooters.
So basically, they countered the Clippers' defense by forcing them to adjust. Just shows you how important those in-game adjustments are, especially when you have two top teams going at it.
It's a constant chess match. Coaches trying to outsmart each other. And sometimes those little changes can make all the difference.
We've talked a lot about the veteran players, the superstars, but what about the young guys, the up-and-coming talent? I mean, look at the Magic. Beating the Hawks, that was a statement, especially from their young players.
Banchero and Wagner, they were impressive. Didn't back down from the challenge, attacked the basket, made smart decisions, showed a lot of maturity for such young players.
Makes you wonder if the Magic might be ahead of schedule in their rebuilding process. They've got a talented young core, and if those guys keep developing like this, watch out.
They could be a problem for a lot of teams in a few years. The future's bright in Orlando.
Speaking of bright futures, let's talk about the Nuggets. We already discussed their offensive firepower and how good Jokic is, but do you think they're a real championship contender?
I think they've got the pieces. They have a potent offense with Jokic at the helm. The supporting cast is solid. and their coach knows how to use them.
But the West is a beast, right? The Lakers, the Clippers, the Suns, they're all contenders.
Yeah, the Nuggets will have to prove they can beat the best of the best consistently. But based on what we've seen so far, they're definitely capable of it.
Well, this has been a fun deep dive. We've seen some crazy games, some upsets, some really memorable performances. The NBA never disappoints, does it?
It's why we love it. Every night is a new story. Players stepping up, teams battling it out. Never a dull moment.
And let's not forget the fans. Their energy is infectious. They make the NBA what it is.
Absolutely. The fans are the heart and soul of the league. They create an atmosphere that's just electric.
So to all the NBA fans out there, keep watching, keep cheering.
And remember, there's always more to the game than meets the eye. Keep exploring, keep analyzing, and keep that passion for basketball alive.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this NBA deep dive.